Alright, welcome back, and it's time to take a look at the new M1A1 Desert Storm Abrams. Now this is currently a rank 13 vehicle, the first vehicle that's been released outside of a platoon system. After all, recently we did get a completely new custom platoon system, which I personally am starting to really like. Now, this Abrams has a 120mm main cannon. This is very maneuverable, very fast. It has, after all, a gas turbine engine. It has very good armor from front with some very obvious weak spots that we will be covering. 480mm is the air penetration, 6.5 seconds is the reload speed, 40 degrees per second is the turret rotation speed. Protection wise, it has decent overall armor. However, as we will see in the protection analysis, there are some obvious weak spots and some holes in the composite that you can take advantage of, and some of these holes are pretty much easy access to the interior of the vehicle with a vast variety of shells. Now, on X-ray we see that there's a decent composite armor on the front covering the whole frontal plate, which is a little bit angled. The upper plate doesn't have any composite, but the very front does have. The front of the turret, side of the turret does have composite as well, very thick composite. However, there are very obvious weak spots. One of the weak spots is right below the cannon. The turret ring, you should aim at the Abrams right there, and it's pretty much a guaranteed penetrating hit. Works with APGMs, works with any type of APFSDS shell. Even with heat shells you can pretty much punch through that little area right below the cannon. You can see that it's lacking any sort of composite. It should be relatively thin in that place. Obviously does have blowout panels at the back, ammo at the back, fuel tanks at the front. Let's go and load the protection map, and then I'll take a random vehicle that is usually common within the same tier. I think I'll take the T80 UK, which is the other vehicle that came alongside with the M1A1 Desert Storm in this update. Overall, this little feature here is very useful, and you can pretty much pick any tank within any tier with any shell that you want, and then you can go and see, you can test out where to aim and things like that. Now, as I mentioned before, on the front you do have that huge weak spot, which is between the hull and the turret ring. I usually aim at that vehicle in that position, and usually it might take 1 or 2 hits depending on the ammo layout or depending on the angle, but usually it takes 2 hits to destroy this vehicle. 1 hit disables the entire turret crew, and the other hit should be right below in the driver, in the frontal plate. So that's the first hit for the weak spot right there, and as you can see, it disables the whole turret crew, disables the engine, and the vehicle is completely immobilized. And then second hit you aim below, which is going to disable the driver, and the vehicle is pretty much destroyed. But again, it is a very useful thing to have in the protection analysis, and you can actually test a vast majority of shells. As I mentioned before, you can test all the shells out actually. I think a hash shell, if it's put right there, might completely overpressure the vehicle, although I did forget to test that when I was checking this out. And from the side armor isn't really that tough. The main armor is obviously at the front. Side armor is easily penetrable, so from the side you can also aim at weak spots, aim at the ammo, at the engine, at the turret. I mean, depending on what type of status the vehicle is in. So you obviously will aim to make the most damage possible. But overall, I do like this vehicle so far. I would say it's been performing really well. I might be a little bit late to make a overall gameplay review of this vehicle. My bad for that. I just didn't have time to do it, but today I will do it. Not a big problem. So let's take this beast out for a little ride and let's see what will happen. Now, as I mentioned before, the maneuverability of this vehicle is extremely high. It is a very maneuverable, very fast main battle tank. It does have a 1.3 thousand horsepower, I believe, gas turbine jet engine, which is very interesting that fit in this vehicle. Also, I just don't know how much fuel this thing does consume, probably a lot. But maneuverability is something that this vehicle is not going to be lacking. And you might be wondering, okay, well, you have the T8 UK and you have the M1A1 Desert Storm. Which one should you pick between these two vehicles? Now, I just picked this vehicle primarily because I know that I'm not going to struggle with reverse speed. I know that T8 usually doesn't have any good reverse speed. This does have a very good reverse speed. So with this vehicle, if you don't like tanks with non-existent reverse gears, and then this vehicle is going to be perfect for you, because it is very maneuverable, very fast. It's able to move from point A to point B very easily, and you don't have to do some very weird maneuvers to actually get this thing to rotate. You can just go reverse and go reverse very quickly. It's a very maneuverable, fast naval tank. Otherwise, it is decently protected. It doesn't have the same outloader. I mean, it doesn't have an outloader, but
another zone captured. We have the advantage.
It's going to suffer from the same catastrophic ammo explosion as the T80, for example. If it gets hit in the ammo, you have blowout panels on this vehicle, which can help at saving the tank if you get hit in the ammo. And you have to make sure that you don't pick a lot of shells. You have to make sure that all your shells fit in the turret. If you have shells in the hull, and if those shells explode, well, the blowout panels will not save you in that case, because the vehicle will just explode from the interior, and yeah, no other comment needed from that. In my case, I usually manage to fire all the shells, so I don't have the problem of having shells in the hull. And speaking of shells, if you're actually firing on the enemy with this vehicle, you will be running out of shells fairly quickly. Again, the reload in this thing is actually very good, despite not having an outloader. But the reload is really good, and it is going to make your vehicle run out of shells fairly quickly. At least that's from my experience. Now, as for the shells, you have a PFSDS and you obviously have HETFS. I mean, it's pretty obvious which shells you will be using in TopTier. I usually use this combination. It's the best. I mean, the best. Works the best, and it's overall effective against every vehicle that's in the game. If you encounter a lightly armored vehicle, you can fire the heat projectile at the enemy, and it will usually serve as high explosive at the same time, so you can definitely overpressure some of the lighter armor vehicles. But at the end of the day, you have a PFSDS, and it does do some very good damage when it hits. A PFSDS shells do some significant damage once they go into the enemy tank. Overall, I actually did manage to get a lot of good battles with this vehicle. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. It's a very fun main battle tank. Probably the best Abrams, I would say. We also do have the M1A, the other Abrams, the HC variant of it, which honestly I do also like a lot. I would say, generally speaking, performance-wise, they do feel roughly the same. They play roughly the same as well. I mean, it's an Abrams, so you play one, you probably play all of them. And I'm therefore not looking forward to see what kind of vehicles we will see added next to the game. Personally, I think I'm very excited for the IS-7 and for the UFO tank, the tank with quad tracks. I'm actually excited for that one. And then there are some vehicles that I think I would really enjoy driving. So overall, that was the M1 Abrams, the Desert Storm Abrams.
Strategic zones are captured.
A very powerful naval tank. Overall, very effective, very good, very good cannon, excellent mobility, decent armor, and overall, it is going to perform really well. And with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe. And as always, I'll see you next time.